Good morning. We're here today to interview Mrs.
Gloria Bethea
and Miss Bertha DeCoursey. And we are the Alachua County Community Remembrance Project, Truth and Reconciliation, the Alachua Newnansville Oral History Project. And we're so happy for you to be here, and we're very thankful for our partners, the Samuel Proctor Oral History Program, who's recording this for us and guiding us through this process. Also, the Alachua Public Library, who are gracious enough to allow us to use their facilities for this project. Basically, we want to start with some background questions for each of you, and basically tell us where you were born and your parents' name, and what they did for a living, and whether or not you have any siblings, and if so, what their names and ages are. And I think that's enough for right now. We won't give you too many at once.
Okay. Come you want to start first? Well, basically, we first cousins. We sister and brother children. Okay. And my dad was Joshua Welch, and my mother was Beatrice Robinson Welch. And I only have like one living siblings, but we found another sister that we hadn't seen. My brother got killed in Vietnam, and his name was Joshua Welch Jr. So I was born and raised is what they call all the area Alachua now, but Bernice Lake was my home.
Yes.
That's where my brother and sisters and all were born there. And after my mom got sick, then we was like with her mom, my daddy, other sisters, they helped raise us. And me, Uncle Bud. We had a large family.
Yes, I remember your brother Josh. He was one of my uncle's best friends.
Yep.
And we were all very sad when we lost him in Vietnam.
If I can hold it. I was born, see, I won't be able to hold it.
You want me to hold it for you?
I was born in the area of what we call Bland, Florida, but it's still Alachua County. But I was mostly raised in Alachua. My mother was made out of Jenkins Shaw. My father was Mac Wesley Shaw. I had two sisters, and I'm the oldest, and all my family has deceased, my immediate family. And I'm the only one living. We are the two oldest that are living that can talk about some of the times we grew up. And that was about it, wasn't it?
Do you remember anything about your grandparents and or your great-grandparents? No?
Yeah, I remember Grandpa Spencer Welch, he was out in Bland.
Okay. Bland keeps coming up. Bland is where I was born as well. Okay. Where did you attend school? Elementary, middle, and high school?
Well,
and college, if you went to college.
When I first started school, no, I never went to college. I didn't go no further than the 6th grade, but when I first started the school, it was out in what we call Oakwood, Florida. It was a little school out there. And then from there, I went to ACT. And from there, I went to Gainesville to St. Augusta School. And then back from there, I went back to ACT. And that's where I just stopped going to school when I was in 6th grade.
Okay.
Okay. I went from Bernice Lake to ACT, and when ACT was closed down and my bank was built, I went there in 1967, but then I had to drop out and I finished at night. And it was like...
Tell us what you meant any memories you have of ACT, and I know my aunts went there. It's Alachua County Training School. Yeah. It's what ACT stands for. My aunts and uncles went there for a while before my day. Tell us about your experience there and why there was an ACT.
Well, it was an all-black school, and we had to, that's where we had to go to school at. Yeah. And Professor Mabang and Miss Mabang was like right across from the school. So we had a lot of nice teachers, Miss Mary Jones, Miss Jackson, Miss
McKnight.
Yeah, Miss McKnight and Miss Goodman. We had Mr. Whitfield took over Mabang, and him and Mr. Millock after Professor Mabang had died, and they built Mabang. So it was really basic.
Okay. So what was it like going there, and what kind of materials did you have to work with in terms of books and things, and where did they come from?
Well, I can't remember everything we had, but I know we had a geography, a history, and there was another book, but I forgot it.
Okay.
Arithmetic.
Okay. Did they teach you anything about Black history when you were there? Okay.
We already knew what we were.
Did you get new books when you were there, or were they used books?
Used
They were used books. They were passed down.
Okay.
But we had a lot of teachers that was really concerned about Black kids getting education. And so we had to take what we got. But like Miss Mary Jones and some of the kids who couldn't get around, and Miss Scrappy, of which was Miss Burgess first. They was our homemaking teachers. They made sure, that everything was running smooth. Miss Mabang, when you didn't have a lunch, they built our first little lunchroom out there. And it's surprising, but we got a soda and a sandwich for 25 cents.
Very good. I remember Miss Jones. Okay. And Miss McKnight. Were you involved in any kind of programs when we were youth, like church groups or Girl Scouts, and any kind of sports clubs or anything like that?
I played a little volleyball, but it wasn't like professional or nothing, but we did have a volleyball team, and I loved it too.
That's good. Who was your coach? Do you remember who your coach was?
Okay. I don't remember my coach.
Okay, no worries.
We had a good time.
What about you, Gloria?
Well, basically they had like programs that you could do, and we had Miss Burgess. I'm trying to think of what Miss Lillian Burgess' name was before she married Mr. Burgess Lamas, but she was like our drummer teacher. And Miss Burgess, I always liked to dance. Miss Burgess was good at that, and we had a little play at one time, the low beating of the tom-toms. You had your basic education, but then you had fun too, along with everything else. At the end of the year, every class had to put on a drama.
Exactly. I remember Miss Burgess, and she was very good, and she'd always have a little drill team for homecoming, and we would all dress up in our little green and yellow majorette skirts. She was the start of me being a real majorette.
Yep, Miss Burgess was good.
Yes, she was. Very talented musically, and took a lot of interest in children. I do remember that. And you were right about all of our teachers. They were very concerned about us getting an education, so it didn't matter otherwise. How about that? So did you have you named a lot of teachers. Did you have one in particular that had an impact on your life and who you are now?
I had more than one. I had more than one. I had Miss McCaslin, which was Miss Reed.
Yes.
Miss Mary Jones, which was my neighbor out of Burns Lake. She would transportation. Miss Lucia Hale, which became Miss Lee. And, like I said, when my mom took sick, these was like my extra moms. And that's why I'm in St. Luke today, because of Miss McCaslin and Miss Mary Jones.
Yes. Both very ideal. My mother felt the same way about them. And of course I did because of them as well. They were good people and great teachers. So how about you,
Same go for me with them. And also Miss Goodman was a very good teacher. She was kind of hard, but she was good.
Yes.
And I just loved them to death.
Okay. Very good.
And I grew up in the church.
I was going to ask you about that. Tell me about the impact church had on both of you.
I started out to St. Matthew's Church. Went there for a long time. And I began to drop out, you know. Well, I wasn't a member until I was married. Then I was added to the church. And some things went kind of wicky-wacky, so I dropped out. And I just went from church to church, you know. And later on, I had a minister was traveling with my daughter and her husband, and he started having Bible study with me. And so I'm now in the Church of Christ, and I've been in that over 29 years.
Good. Very good. That's great. I had two uncles in St. Matthew's at one time. Both of them are deceased now. So Ms. Gloria, you mentioned St. Luke. Tell me about the impact St. Luke had on you.
Well, my grandmother was an AME, and from we're back out in Bland now. They moved from Bland to Prayer Grove, which is over by where I live at now. Reverend Gamma was our pastor. So when they closed down Prayer Grove, they moved it to 441, and we've been there for forever, look like. But we had some ladies you had to do right. You had to start with Sunday school. You couldn't just come to church. You had to start the Sunday school. And from Sunday school, then church. And then you had a YPD. You had to take a break, and you stayed there for the night. It looked like every Sunday was church, but now I can see the blessing. Yes. It was my direction, which I should have went, and which I am going now, but you know how you veer away when you get to be a teenager? I didn't think I needed the church, but now I know I do. I need God.
Okay. So when you were growing up, did you have any particular hobbies, and who were your friends?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Tell me.
My mom was something else with that. And we could play, but we had chores. And once we did the chores, we could play. But if the chores didn't get done, no play. And wasn't no visitors to come to the house unless the chores got done. And if they showed up, we had to go out there and ask them if they were going to help us do our chores. And if they said no, we had to tell them bye-bye. We had to go home. So we did our chores, and we was good to go. But that wasn't often. First thing we had to do when we came from school, if we had homework, we had a little knick-knack. Then we had to get with the homework. And once we did the homework, any chores that were left undone from before, we had to get that done. Yes. So by that time, it's time to eat your supper and get ready for bed. So that was it with us.
Tell me about you, Gloria.
You want to know how sneaky I was? We lived on Burners Lake, and I loved the fishing, I still do. And my mom said, you can't go fishing, but see, her mom, my dad, the other sister, Viola, they would come down to the lake, and I know they were there. I sneak down through the path and go to the lake, go fishing. So I can't blame my children for being sneaky, because I was sneaking. I know I'm going to get a beating when I get back, so I wait for my dad to get home, so I go back home along with him, so he'll save me a lot. Because my mom said, you can't go down there by yourself. That didn't do no good.
How about that? How about that? So, what would you say was the difference between your childhood and your parents' childhood? How was that different?
Well, I know mine was strict, but I don't know how theirs was. But they you know, they give me a little bit of leeway, but they were real strict. When they say don't do, they meant don't do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you feel like parents and children today are that disciplined?
We eased up. We gave in a whole lot. Because I got a little one over there, I give in a whole lot.
Well, according to the situations of the different times, when I was growing up, they didn't have all that stuff about you couldn't hit your child and you couldn't do this and that. But which I didn't really get no whole lot of whippings because I was always kind of a humble person. I couldn't fight nobody. They just knock me down. I just get up and try to still go. But my sisters did my battling. But my mom, she would tell me things that they had to do when they were growing up. And I had to work a lot growing up because my mom and dad separated when we were young. And so my mom, she was kind of on the sickly side. So when I become 9 years old, I had to start helping work to help my mom out so we could make it. So it just was, you know. But she would always tell me, you ain't gonna get something for nothing. You're gonna have to put in something. And I found that out for myself.
So, can you tell me about your first job? Not the one at 9, and I had one at 9 too.
My first job was standing on, they made a wood box for me to stand on because I was so short to wash the dishes. And my mom was a housemaid. And that's my first job was in that house doing dishes and sweeping the floor. I learned how to mop and all that doing for my mom. Because I would call myself working in her place because she had to go in the hospital and have surgery. So to hold her job, I was trying to do some of the things that was required in the household. So I did it. And the people that she was working for was very proud of me doing that.
Okay. What did you think about doing housework, and did you find that satisfying in any way?
Oh, yeah. I did young housework for years. So I loved it. And I also worked in the field now. Don't get me wrong. I did a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Worked in tobacco, corn, cutting okra. Don't never go out there to cut okra.
Okay.
It'll eat you up.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard.
And the corn was so high and I was so short I had to pull a corn stalk over to break the corn. The man would tell me, just break it and pile it up. They'll pick it up. Because I was short, I couldn't throw it up on the wagon. The wagon was too high for me.
How about that? Miss Bethea, tell me about your first job and how it was.
We went from picking beans, picking potatoes. We worked in Higgs because the Sealings was a big farm in Higgs, and they had something you call Babbitt's. They had a little store in Higgs. They would pay you with the Babbitt's, but you can only spend them in Higgs. So it was like, for the summer, you had seasonal work. And in the winter, you had to pick up tongues. A lot of kids, because that's why I tell my kids today, freedom has not always been free. And we still not free.
Right.
But we had to go through a lot to get where we are today.
Yes.
And it made us the people that we are today. We know how to survive.
Yes. All right. Right on. Can you tell me when and where you were married and where you met your spouse?
In the potato field. we were picking up sweet potatoes.
That's cute. Too cute.
We was kids. And he said, that's going to be my wife. So we've been married 61 years.
That's
He was my spring, and I was living with his aunt and Uncle Mary and Uncle Mike. And so we right next door to her when she got sick. So I took care of my mom. She was like a mom to me in the place of my real mom.
Mm-hmm. That's all right. What about you, Mr. Coursey?
I ain't gonna tell exactly how I got married.
You can give us a hint.
But I got married very young.
Mm-hmm.
And me and my husband, we stayed together as long as he lived. Well, I'm still wearing the name. But before he passed, we was together 52 and a half years.
Oh.
So he died in 2002. So we have 3 children. 1 deceased, and I still have 2 living. And I adopted 4 kids. I raised them all by myself. There's 3 boys and 1 girl. They are all grown. And 1 live with me now.
I like that. Is Priscilla and DeCoursey related? Is that one of your
my
children?
daughter.
Okay. All right. I remember Priscilla Ann from school. That's all right. I thought she was, but I couldn't remember for sure. Okay. So you have Priscilla Ann was one. Is she the oldest?
No, Matthew was the oldest.
Okay.
He the one deceased.
Okay. What's the name of the other ones?
Antoine. Antoine.
Okay.
His wife just passed.
Oh. Okay. And Chief DeCoursey, that was here but not in High Spring. How you?
Yeah, that's my nephew.
That's your nephew.
That's my husband. Siblings.
Okay. So,
But you couldn't tell them I'm not a sibling. You can't tell them that.
I'm sure of that. You have a loving, sweet way about you.
Yes.
That's why you raised so many children. Okay. So, did you change it all after becoming a parent?
Well, I had to make some changes because I couldn't let them run over me, you know. I had to up the grade.
Yes. I know it. Children will make you do that.
Yes, Lord. But they so far turn out to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Some of them have had their ups and downs. They had their ups and downs worse than some of my ups and downs, but they're okay.
How about that? And Miss Bethea, how about you? How did you change as a parent? What was it like for you?
I don't know. I enjoyed my kids, and I think I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but I asked the Lord to guide me. So I had like 1 daughter and 4 sons. I had 1 son to get killed in 1985, which was Isaac Jr., and then the other 3. George, he was what you call my wayward child. But now God put him back on the right track. So they said prayer changes things. So I found that to be true.
Yeah.
I never had any trouble out of Michael and Lewis. Michael went in the Marines, and he's still in Miami and Miramont. And Lewis is in Alabama, so. And then I had to take over my daughter kids. So I did the best I could. I got her. That was my great-granddaughter. That's my granddaughter. That's with me.
Yeah.
And then the little one is George's daughter, baby. So I went from a parent, grandparent, great-grandparent. But I'm still a grandparent. I'm still the mama.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, George and my sister are good friends. I didn't know George could sing until recently. He had a good voice.
Yeah.
He has a very good
But I'm
voice.
so glad now he letting the Lord use him, because one time I had to ask the Lord for help, man. I said, you gave them to me, they're back in your hands. I couldn't deal with it.
Oh my goodness, that's good.
It wasn't like it I was giving up, but I give it to somebody that had more power than me.
Amen.
Thank God for Jesus, because I hope he stay on the track he on now, because he's doing real good.
Okay. So what opportunities would you say that are available to your children and grandchildren now that wasn't available to you?
Oh, I would say a whole lot, because only thing I could do back when I was in school was go to night school to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a lot of stuff going on this day and time that they can work, get good training, or go to college and still get good training.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just things that seem to be a little better than it was back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 3 granddaughters. One, she's a nurse as far as she can go. She live in Virginia. The other one, she was in the Navy. She retired from the Navy, and she's in medics. And the other one is a solution, something other for a solution she does. And they all are very educated. So that's way better than where I was, or where I could get back in my day. So, but I have oodles of grandchildren. I can't count them. I think I can count. I can't even count my great-grands right now. But I think I got about 5 great-grands.
Oh my, that's incredible.
So God is blessing me.
Yeah.
I'm kind of up there in age a little bit. He blessing me where I'm seeing what that is. The fourth,
So you got 4 generations.
Generation.
Mm-hmm. 4 generations. Mm-hmm. Very good. How about you, Miss Bethea?
All the kids we got. I'm telling you, I think I'm the neighborhood grandma. Everybody come by, they call me grandma. They don't even know my name. They just say, where grandma? So I love kids.
Mm-hmm.
And when I can help somebody, I will. And if I see some of them going the way they shouldn't go, I tell them. But it's up to them to accept it. But like when you ask Cousin Bert, what difference it is now than it was when we were coming up. We had it harder, but it made us a little bit better where we could take care of our kids and help somebody else with their kids and tell them where we come from and let them know what you got now. You used to this. We wasn't used to this. Mm-hmm. We had to come into this. Mm-hmm. So God brought us through a lot. And just like I tell them every day, I say, God brought us, he didn't bring us this far to leave us. So whatever we got going on now, God gonna bring us through this too. Sometimes they get hard-headed. But Mama, you just don't understand. It's not that I don't understand. You don't understand where Mama come from.
Exactly. How about that? What would you say were some of the most challenging difficulties that you've had throughout your lifetime? And what did you learn from those challenges?
Well, I can tell you one thing. I learned how to take care of myself. I learned how to behave myself. I never been in trouble or anything. Like I say, I always been an humble person. Been easygoing. Ain't never had time to fuss and argue too much. And just been kind of uppity up with me.
That's good. And what would you say that those abilities, what challenges most contributed to you being able to do that?
I would say just being obedient to my parents of the things that they taught me and how I was taught. You know, that, and when I was growing up, my biological parents weren't only my parents. Any person that you pass and they saw you doing something that you weren't supposed to do, they could chastise you. They could tell you, don't do that. You better not do it, because before you get back home, your parents going to know about it.
Absolutely.
So a lot of that was a big help. I see children today, they'll pass by and look you dead in your face. They won't speak, won't say a word. They'll look at you and stare at you. But we were taught to say good morning, good evening, a good afternoon. Well, I didn't know what good afternoon was, because we always say good evening and good morning. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. These kids today, That's the way they talk to you.
Yes.
But see, we couldn't do things like that.
Yeah. So, Ms. Bethea, what were your most challenging difficulties and how did they, and what did you learn from them?
Oh, God.
And I can sum hers up, those whippings. Even though they were few and far between, they made an impact.
Yeah, I had some challenges in my life, like, a lot of ups and downs, but through it all, like I say, when I needed something, I know who I could go to, and I know I could depend on Miss Mary Jones. I know I could depend on Miss Mamie Long. I know I could depend on Miss Reed, Miss McCassin, or Miss Lee, or somebody, when I didn't know which way to go, they would put me on the right track. And when I moved where I am now, Reverend Gamma and Miss Hattie Gamma was next door, and if one of my kids get out of hand, all I had to do was tell Miss Hattie, if you see them doing something, and I still told everybody, if you see one of my kids doing something, you tell them and then you tell me. But don't let my kids go wrong and again come and tell me. Tell them before he go wrong. Yes. And I appreciated that. And I had a lot of people in my life that helped me out with them challenges, because I didn't know which way I was going myself. And then Miss Annie Long, God bless her, and Sister Hart, they got me a job at UF, and I stayed there for 35 years. And that way I could help my kids. And I told them, the basic thing I would like for you to do, get an education so you can take care of yourself, because I had to go through some trying times. Yes. Washing at night, ironing the next day, taking in people's laundry to make ends meet. So we did. We made it. And I made it to 82. And I tell them now, I ain't cooking, I ain't doing nothing. I can say what I ain't doing now, but I couldn't back then say what I ain't doing.
No one would guess either one of you in your 80s.
Yeah, we
did. All right. Do you all belong to any organizations now? I know you have your church, but anything other than your church?
I don't.
Okay. What about you, Ms. Bethea?
Eastern Star. Eastern Star.
Eastern Star.
Queen of the South, 155.
All right.
Leon and them got me in there and I can't get out. We down to 4 members, but we trying to hang in there, because when I joined the Eastern Star, it was like Miss Hattie Hughes, Miss Millette, older ladies, and you couldn't go wrong, because they weren't going to let you.
Yeah. Mama Mary was of that. And I think it was McNaught, because I think at one time they were trying to get me in there, but I moved away, so it never happened.
Still good. We down to 4 members, and we trying to keep it because it's one of the oldest lodges.
Very good. Very good. Do you feel it's important to stay involved in the community? And if so, why?
I ain't willing to stay too much involved right now, because my health is not the best. And but I will do what I can do if in any way I can help somebody.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's the right thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not gonna encourage you with your wrongdoings.
I agree with you, and that's the best.
But I was just telling her on the way, I said, that cooking, we have cooked a lot, growing up, so
Yeah.
it's time for me to pull it in.
I do understand.
Oh,
But, you know, being willing to help your neighbors, that's important
Yeah.
involvement. That's the best kind of involvement.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Miss Bethea, you don't give up cooking too? Because I miss your cooking.
You ask my family now, they say, yeah. I told them, I ain't cooking every day like I used to. I said, we got too many, what they call them, hot shots. you go buy.
Okay.
But I have one of the sisters live with me, and I take care of her.
Very good. Very good.
I'm 2 years older than she is, but her health is worse than my health.
Yeah. This younger generation ain't made out of the same stuff we made out of. Nah. Things can happen to anybody at any age. And
Oh yeah.
you are a blessing to her for taking care of her.
She told one of her cousins, they came by to see her, and I don't know what they said to her, but I could hear her tell them, I ain't going nowhere, I'm staying right here. I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
So,
To use an old expression, she know which side her bread is buttered on. Yes. So, how do you think the political climate has changed in your lifetime?
Yeah, well, back in the day, I can kind of remember what it was, the rational stamps. My mama got rational stamps, that kind of stuff. And on down the line, it was another, what the other food was they got with the peanut butter and stuff. What they call that.
Commodities.
And on down, now we still get giveaway foods, but it just, well, me, I try not buying on the giveaway food, because right now I ain't that many in my household. So I'd like for somebody who has children or a lot of people in the household to get the food. Now, in our congregation, we had a little group that we used to get food, and we would give it, go around and give it away, and then we would cook for what that place is, St. Francis House, once a month, and we would give away clothes and all this kind of stuff. But after this COVID come on, it cut it down, so we don't get to do all that stuff. So
Those are good community involvement projects, though. Very good. So, what about you, Miss Bethea?
I think we got choices now. We can vote for who we want to and when we want to.
Yes. Have better choices for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Anything else? As you were growing up, did you hear anything about black men and women being mistreated or lynchings or anything like that?
Yep.
yeah, I heard it, but I never knew any of them. I heard about it, but I never know any,
Yeah.
Personally. I never know.
Can you tell me what you heard?
I heard it from my mother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
She could tell you a whole lot of stuff when she was here.
Right.
But she used to tell us about the lynch hammer and all that stuff.
The lynch hammock.
And here was another spot she told us about, going out on, what you call that road where Lumpkin and them stay?
What, 241? Peggy? Peggy Road?
Peggy Road, babe.
Which
Back
was
out
it?
that way. Peggy Road.
Peggy
babe.
Road, going out that way. Mm-hmm.
So they used to hang people out that way.
How about that?
I never knew all about that.
Yeah. Did you hear anything, Miss Bethea?
Well, we couldn't hang around much, but you could hear the older people talking about who had got what. But I do know my great-grandfather, he used to live in Lake Butler. And he had to get out of Lake Butler overnight, and he moved out on the other side of Bernice Lake, and he could never go back home.
Right. I've heard a few stories like that, too. Somebody, the Johnsons out in Bland. Yeah. Oh, man. And Lake Butler is still notorious.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about the election of Barack Obama in 2008? What does that mean to you?
To me, it let me know that we can be a president.
Okay. How'd you feel when he got elected? Can you remember what you were doing and how you felt when you heard the news?
It felt good to know that a black person could be president. I don't even remember what I was doing. But it let me know that we can be a president, but we're going to have to get up and go to work.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I can't tell you what I was doing when it happened, but I sure was happy to hear about it because it need to be changes. It don't need to stay the same all the time.
Absolutely.
And we really need these changes because it helps us to learn more about what's going on with each side or each, different nationality of people.
What are your thoughts on the Black Lives Matter movement and the increasing murders of African Americans by law enforcement?
I don't know. I try not to go there. I pray so hard for the changes in that field because it's working. It's not only the black law enforcement, it's just people in general doing things that they shouldn't be doing. So we have people who doing the killing to the policemen, and the policemen doing the killing to the people, and it shouldn't be done that way. Yeah, but I don't know why it's being done that way. But it just seems like anybody can get their hand on a gun.
It just seemed that way.
And when I was growing up, you didn't even see a gun. I didn't.
Most of us didn't.
And the only gun you saw was somebody hunting.
Exactly.
And it wasn't hunting people.
Exactly. Miss Gloria?
Yeah, I think everybody's life matter. But like Convert was saying, they now, anybody, the little ones can even get a gun. And the first thing when somebody say something wrong, they come out with a gun. Don't even think. And they're going to lose their whole life behind a gun. Don't even know how they got there. Wasn't old enough to know how they got there. You going to prison for life. So I think everybody's life matter because I know I wouldn't want nobody to go through it, but I had to go through it.
No. Do you see any similarities between what's happening now with these guns and the civil rights movement back in the 60s?
It seems like it's worse than that with the guns. To me. It might not be, but it seems more like it because there's more people getting their hands on guns and stuff. Bombs and stuff. I just heard on the news where they say, I think it's been the third or fourth time they done been called for school bombs here in Luckily, in Alachua County. That's horrible.
Yes. I was shocked to hear yesterday that there's a bomb threat at the schools in Newberry. So, would you like to say anything on that, Miss Gloria? No. Okay. So, you don't see any similarities between the civil rights movement and what's going on today?
Yeah, I see some similarity, but right now it's like they don't care. Everybody just shooting at anybody.
Yeah.
At one time it was just a few people, but now it's whatever you say. It done struck somebody the wrong way and out come a gun.
My goodness. How do you feel about the disparity of wealth, education, and health care in this country?
Well, to me, back in the day, people wasn't as sick, seemed like, as it is today. We have all kind of illness this day and time. When I was growing up, I did know about arthritis, which they used to call it something other else. It wasn't arthritis. It was
Rheumatism.
It was something other else they used to call it. And people, they had a sickness and whatnot, but it wasn't like it is today. We have all kinds of things going on in the body. And all I think it comes from is this fast-growing food and the animals. They punching all this stuff in the animals and things. It may not be, but that's my thoughts. So.
That's how we're looking for. What about wealth? It seems in this country that some people are a lot more wealthy than other groups of people. What do you think about that, and what do you think that is?
I don't know. I can't talk about people's wealth because I don't know too much about the different people's wealth. But I really don't know in that field.
Okay.
Oh, I think we're better off because when you look at the news, you look at the people in Haiti and Guyana and all that, they don't even have decent drinking water. And like the Bible says, my Father's richer than houses and land. We are rich according to some of the other people that I've seen on the news. It's sad. And I wouldn't want to live like that. I wouldn't want to live like nobody live like that. If I could, like I say, if I can help somebody, I will. I sent out so many donations, I had to stop. I say, I ain't paid my bills yet. I can't help everybody, Gloria G. But it's sad when you sit there and watch the news. When I'm doing bills, I cut TV off because I be done give away more than I'm supposed to.
Yeah. This is supposedly a rich country, and countries like Haiti are rich. People that live in out there in, what's that thing, that new subdivision out there? Well, it's not new, but what's that subdivision out there on 441?
Progress?
Turkey Creek.
Turkey Creek.
Yeah. People that live in Turkey Creek are a lot more affluent, have a lot more wealth than people that live in Alachua, especially people that lived here for generations. What do you think about the difference in that? What do you think that is?
Can't see, because I've been to Turkey Creek one time, and I went with my son to a basketball banquet.
I've been out there one time too, and went to pick up my granddaughter.
I went there with my son to
I don't know.
To the sports banquet out there.
I know it's nice out there. It's very nice out there.
Before Turkey Creek, I know that was Mr. Seal land. We picked up potatoes out there, but that's ain't been this in Turkey Creek been out there.
Oh, okay. Okay. Do you feel it important to participate in government and elections?
Yes, we have our say-so.
Yes.
Okay. How has COVID-19 affected you and your family?
Oh, we were shut in already. So, you know, it's like, this deal. Like I say, I keep the kids. So I try to keep everybody inside, but it's hard to keep when you keeping little kids to keep them inside all day. So basically, we just go to the store or wherever we got to go and right back.
Yeah, I understand.
Keep sanitizer, hand wipes.
Has anybody you know contracted the virus?
Yeah, my first cousin, baby. Well. We had some cousins in Jacksonville. COVID ain't missing nobody.
No, it hasn't.
We had some here too, and that's what my daughter-in-law passed with.
Yeah. How are you guys coping with the pandemic?
Like I say, basically, I'm here. I'm going back home, and
I'm here and I'm going back home.
I hear you. We actually tried to get a few people to say, I'm home and I'm going to stay home.
well, you come in, but I'm going back home.
Yes, I understand. So is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to share with us? Any thoughts or comments about anything you'd like to share with us now?
No, I thank y'all for thinking of us, and only thing I like to know who put y'all up to getting us. Because whoever. But she had to contact somebody to get to us. I got something for him. I already know who it is.
Okay.
But thank y'all.
And thank you all for participating. We really appreciate you and your sharing your wisdom with us. It's been a wonderful interview, and that concludes.
We have some questions.
Absolutely.
This is Abby Lovett speaking. I wanted to ask you, Gloria, about your brother. We didn't talk much about him, but what was his branch of service? Was he drafted, and how old was he when he passed?
Josh was right out of high school, and he was 19, and he went to Vietnam. He went from here to Fort Bennett, from Fort Bennett to New Jersey. What was that? I forgot the fort in New Jersey, but they shipped him out of New Jersey to Vietnam. And he was there maybe, I don't think he was there for a year before he got killed.
And just to follow up with that, what were your feelings about the war before and after that experience? And how old were you at the time?
They called me, oh God. My brother was born September 6, 1946, and I think he got killed in 86, so he was like 20. So I had to be maybe 35 or 40, because we were all young. And he went right out of high school into the service because he said, he was the first one put me on this ship about helping get my kids an education, because he was the first one in our family to finish school. He finished at Mabang, and then he went into the service in Vietnam. Wasn't nothing to play with. It was a terrible war. We had a lot of young people get killed in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. So when he went in the service, he sent me money back to save money for each one of my kids. I had 4 boys and the 1 girl, too. So when they could finish school, they would have something to back up on.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I know that's what we talk about.
Yeah.
I know Josh from high school, and he was one of the nicest young men on campus. He was also an athlete, and yeah. Josh actually was the first that went there that succumbed to that war. He and my uncle were best friends, running brothers, buddies, whatever the case may be. And it was a great shock and painful for all of us. And at school, when it happened, they did announce it over our PA system and asked for prayer for Josh and the family. But it was hard. I liked Josh, too.
And we go to football games, but that's why I said we had a supported community, because at football games at the time, our football field was at Mabang. So we could go up there and everybody say, "What you doing?" I said, "I'm looking for them little skinny legs." I say,
"You are skinny."
As long as I see those little skinny legs, I know he all right. I wasn't looking for number, I was looking for his legs.
It's funny.
I do have a question. I think earlier, I believe you were talking about adopting kids. You adopted 4, if I'm not mistaken. Can you tell me how did you go about that? I'm just thinking, economically, adopting 3, 4 kids a lot of money, and I'm just trying to think, like, how did you go about going?
Well, it started out, I was in foster care. I stayed in foster care 18 years. And these kids was put up for adoption. Nobody came forth to adopt them. So, and I had them a while. Got them when they was babies. And so nobody never showed up to do an adoption for them. So I decided I would adopt them.
Wow. Very kind, generous of you.
So they all grew up to be grown women and men. I have one live with me now. The other three, they kind of scattered around. But they visit. Don't forget me. And some of those I had in foster care, they don't forget me either. So.
Do you remember the foster place where this was? Was it in the city of Alachua, or was it outside of that, or where was this at?
I went through HRS in Gainesville,
Okay.
through the state. And I ain't gonna tell you it was easy now. And a lot of people think that people were doing it for money. You wasn't getting all that much of money. But you did get help for medical, and you got food stamps. But that money, there wasn't no money there. So I just felt good trying to do the best I could by these kids, because the ones, well, two of them I got was really, really, the oldest one, he had a trait. And I'm not going through what was told to me that happened to him, because I don't know. But anyway, I got him when he was 18 months old, and he had been in Shands for a long time. And HRS, through them, he got where he could come out, and he needed to be in a home. So, but my starting out in foster care was through some of my relatives. We were trying to keep them together, keep them from getting divided from one another. So that's how I started out in foster care.
Yeah, really. We were brought up in a family that would take care. The kids, if something happened to the mom or the dad, the family wasn't going to let them go nowhere else but right around in there. So it come up in us to do whatever we could to keep the kids together.
When you were growing up, was the community around the neighborhood where you lived, was it primarily black, or was it integrated at that time?
Oh, we always were around black folks.
So would there be community within the black community? I guess, would there be a sense of community?
I was in a black community. Mm-hmm.
And everyone would help each other out. Let's say I ran out of food or something. Can I go to my neighbor, ask him for something? It was that type of...
Yeah, that was like with our family, you know. We always try to help one another out. We didn't care what and what. We had an aunt. Well, all our aunts was like that, but we had a special aunt named Volga.
Yep.
That was Big Mama. She would take all of us in. It didn't care. And she had a house full because she had 7 children of her own. Mm-hmm. But she was always that kind of person, you know. And it just, I guess, just rubbed off in me, seeing what she did and how she did it. And that's where I took off from.
I actually think that was the culture back then anyway, to take care of each other and to make sure the children were taken care of. And I think that's how we were able to survive as well as we did under the circumstances that we were living under.
Can Can I ask
So
a
it was.
follow-up? Has that changed? Would you say that that's that community working together is still present in Alachua, or has it sort of faded out over time?
Well,
Go ahead.
well, in some areas it has changed, but say people our age, we hasn't changed in doing that. We still do it if we can, but no, it's not the same as it used to be. To me, I don't know about
Yeah,
you.
it was instilled in us, but like in the community now, you have to be very careful how you deal with people's kids. Because with us, anybody could spank us and say they did it, but you can't do that now.
I ain't gonna try
It
to
changed a whole lot. And the first thing the person will ask the child now, did you do that? But see, when we were coming up, they didn't ask us did we do something. They took that grown person word for it.
Yeah.
Back in the day, since there were, I'm assuming there were no daycares, so how would that happen if the parents had to go to work, and then who would take care of the children?
The older child in the household,
The oldest one, I'm guessing,
in the
right?
household,
Okay.
if they were old enough. If it wasn't, the parent had to stay there and do what she could with them.
And it would usually fall towards the mom then, staying at home.
Yeah, because that's why a lot of people took in a lot of washing and the ironing and stuff for other people. And that on Friday come, that was their little money. On Saturday, we were downtown to the show.
Work from home, take care of your children at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Some parents actually took them with them, especially if they went to the fields.
Yeah.
They take the
My
children
mama
with them.
did. My mama carried us.
Yeah.
We didn't
And
there
then
were 3 girls, no boys. She had 3 girls and no boys.
and sometimes if grandmama was doing okay and still to work in the fields and in the kitchens of other people, she would take care of the children.
What is the earliest age that children would start working the lands, the fields? What age would approximately be when they could start working on the lands?
They didn't have no age.
Ain't no
If you could pick a bean or pick up a potato, that you was old enough. They had no age limit.
And by any chance, did you ever work with any pesticides while you were in the lands, working the lands? Like any types of pesticides, little balls, like so
Oh,
the plants
No,
would
we
grow?
was too young for that.
Okay,
The men did that part.
okay.
They didn't
We-
use a lot of
we helped with the
pesticides
harvest.
back then like they do now. They use more natural fertilizers
Yeah.
and whatever, and what they used wasn't as dangerous as the stuff that they're using now. Yeah, everything was more natural.
We just helped with the harvest.
I'd like to.
Oh, yes. Question for Gloria. It's Donovan Carter speaking. I want to ask you about Isaac Jr.
My son, they got killed.
Yes.
Yeah, he had just finished high school and he was down at what we call the bottom, which is where all our neighborhood is. What's that? The west part of Alachua. They call it the bottom. He had just walked out the house. We were babysitting his kids. And then their grandma come picked him up and he walked out the door and told me, free at last, free at last. And he just didn't know how free he was. 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes later, one of the neighbors come and told me he had got hurt. I said, I ain't going. He said, yes, ma'am, you going, because I get hurt bad. So when I went down there, helicopter on 441, they had to fly him in the sands, but he didn't make it. So I don't try to dwell on, like one of my friends told me, I can't live in the past because I want to see the future. So I try to keep the past behind me. Because when you start talking about it, it brings up memories that I don't want, I don't need. So, but I don't mind talking about it. Because he was a biggity little rascal.
But he was my
He was my baby.
He was my rascal.
Yeah, he'll work through Monday through Friday. And I had my grandmother there, and the lady what raised me was next door. He'll make sure they got food, because I was at UL. He'll make sure the house was clean. But when I hit that door, he said, "See you later, chick." And when he walked out that door, I said, "Lord, my baby just didn't know how free he was."
Yeah. My word.
Yeah, he was sweet. Until Friday come. When Friday come, he had to go.
He always passed my house. He gonna make me know he passed. Hey, Mom! She got children calling me Mom.
That's wonderful.
We have an auntie and uncle, our uncle children. Some of them call her mama and call me mama. And they get our children mixed up with our cousins.
Because everybody think Georgia Jenkins. I say, "Georgia ain't no Jenkins, that's my son."
and Antoine the Jenkins talking about. And then they look at me, "Antoine, your child?" I say, "Lord have mercy." But they were giving them all to Aunt Elster and Uncle Duke.
That's all right. I'd like to share something with you, ladies. Those 3 jars behind you, are you aware of what they are and why they're there?
Yeah, I went to.
You were at the soil collection ceremony?
No, my granddaughter was.
Oh, okay.
Patricia. But I went to Selma, and I told the kids about the one in going to Newberry. The Lance Hammer was kin to the Dennises. Mm-hmm. And we have an aunt was a Sullivan, so I don't know whether he kin in the Middle East or not.
How about that? So those 3 jars, that soil is in memory of those 3 men, and they are 3 of 9 jars. 9 people who were identified in Alachua, Newnansville, that were lynched. And we did that soil collection ceremony to in memory and honor of these 9 victims. And those jars are actually going to be on display out there in the library in the display case. We brought those 3 in for our interviews. Mm-hmm. Yes, so that's what that is.
Yeah, Patricia went when they was winning, and I kept the baby.
Yes.
She went with Miss Brown.
Right, very good. Well, again, we really appreciate you all being here and sharing with us. It's a blessing.
Yeah.
And this won't be the last time you hear from us. But we won't make you work anymore, I think.
Okay.
All right, thank you.